Welcome back to Let's Chat About. I am your host, Megan Winkler, and I am super excited to have another Megan here on the show with me, Megan Huff. She is just a powerhouse, and we were chatting before we popped on here, and neither one of us can remember when we met each other, but it's been years.
Wow.
Megan has gone through, right? Megan has gone through a couple of iterations of her career. She was a certified wildlife biologist before a long journey that I think she's going to probably share some tidbits
Mhm.
of going into yoga and wellness. And she is now the founder of Breathe, Flow, Grow. Beautiful offerings and programs within her business. And I will let her tell you all about it. She's also an amazing aerial artist from what I see online. I'm just blown away. So, Megan, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I
Yeah.
really appreciate this. I'm excited to get chatting and stuff like that.
I
So,
know, me too. Well, today we're chatting a little bit about, well, a lot about like wellness and intuition. So,
Mhm.
do you want to kind of tell us a little bit about like your personal journey to getting to where you are now?
Yeah, I know it's funny because some people think it's kind of a 180, but it's not because
Yeah.
my degree is in wildlife ecology and management. It is actually on like natural systems and how nature works and the environment and stuff like that. But yeah, oh my gosh, it's been about 11, 12 years now. Super stressed out, and I had a really good friend. And you have to have that one friend that's like, if anybody else told you this, you'd probably smack them across the face. But you have that one friend that's like, you know, like trying to
Mhm.
offer advice when you really weren't in a place for advice. But she's like, I think you might like yoga. She's like, I'm just saying, like, don't bite my head off, but why don't you give it a try? It's just, super stressful time in my life. And so yeah, I went and took a class. I was like, fine, I will do it. I was like, at this point, I'll do anything. Found yoga, found an intro class. Funny enough, those are hard to find sometimes. Found an intro class, did it, fell in love, got pregnant, and soon thereafter, so then I had to switch to prenatal yoga. So a lot of the yoga I learned was actually prenatal.
Mhm.
So I learned with the belly and I learned to be adaptive before I ever learned most of the other stuff I learned.
Okay.
And so once I came out of that, had my daughter, decided to stay home with my child. My husband and I made that big decision for me to stay home. And I also my stepson was living with us at the time as well. And so, yeah, so I stayed home. That's kind of how I left environmental consulting stuff, like the wildlife biology thing.
Yeah.
That's what I did before as consultant. But um, it's kind of funny. Yoga, I kept doing yoga, is helping with stress and wellness, like stress, everything. And somewhere along the way, I was like, I think my kids this might actually be really good for them as
Yeah.
well. It's really helped me a lot. I could see that my stepson was struggling a little bit with anxiety. My daughter was still really young at the time. And so I just lucked out and I found a kids yoga instructor training. And
Yeah.
that's how I got started. It was just, learning about children and how children work and about how a lot of like of our childhood goes into our adulthood and we carry it with us and stuff like that. And then learning to teach yoga. And then after that, yeah, it was like adults,
Yeah.
trauma informed, special needs. And then, as you said, I one day was in the deep like rabbit hole of Instagram and was like, this aerial yoga thing looks fun. Found a place again, and was able to start that as well. So I kind of transitioned, through consulting into this world of yoga. But my world of yoga was always from a biological, like, mind and body big time aspect. It was never a fitness thing for me. It was always a stress. It was always an anxiety type thing and reconnecting with my body and then teaching children how to do the same thing. And now teaching other adults how to do the same, set families together as well. And then the aerial is just, you add now like that trust aspect and like pushing yourself physically and challenging yourself too. So
Oh my gosh, I love that so
yeah.
much. Well, and I know that it's kind of like the first yoga practice you do, like,
Mhm.
sticks with you. So it's so interesting to me that, prenatal yoga is where you really kind of created your foundation for the practice. That's
Yeah.
so wild.
Yeah, it was. And I had to get that certification too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
I
For
was like,
sure.
I have to go back to this. And I had an incredible time. Actually went to Austin. It was one of the few trainings that I actually had to leave town for. And it
Yeah.
was incredible. Yeah, but and it was learning, I think, and that's kind of been, I think because I started there,
Mhm.
that's kind of been the basis of my practice of always being adaptive to whoever walks through that door, right? Like no matter what you look like, where you came from, what your day looks like, your family life looks like, everything else like that, it's like meeting yourself where you are at
Mhm.
every single day. And
Yeah.
I think that really taught me that like first
Yeah.
versus like here's all the poses and how to do the things and now let's learn to adapt. I learned to adapt first and then worked backwards. So
That's so interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, my first exposure to yoga was Iyengar yoga, which is
Mhm.
really focused on like the strength of the pose and the accuracy of the pose and like staying in it for a long time, right? So
Mhm.
now, like anytime I practice, like I can be in any other style of yoga, and I'm like, where's the strength? Where's the center of the pose?
Yeah.
Like just like in there, it is
Yeah.
always that foundation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's so interesting to me that you had all that adaptive stuff. That's so cool. Well, so one of the things that you mentioned before we popped on was kind of listening to your intuition,
Mhm.
overall wellness, like you were saying, a mind body integration, but also a lot of the BS that's out there in the health and wellness industry.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I'm like, pour me some tea. I want to hear about this. Like,
Yeah.
what's one thing that drives you up the wall in the wellness industry right now?
Oh my gosh. I think it's this one, it's the lack of authenticity,
Mhm.
right? The people I follow are very authentic and like what they look like. Here's my cellulite. Here's my this. This is how I screwed up today. I think, yes, a lot of things make some really pretty pictures and stuff like that, but that lack of authenticity absolutely drives me bonkers. The way that we can, filter things and change things, the way, you know, it just leaves like this place where you don't feel like you have any place for error, right? Like
Yeah.
it's like I have to be perfect. I have to do this. My workout has to look like this. And our bodies are each one of us is different, right? Like every single one of us, and what may work for one person may not work for the next person. Actually, it probably won't work for the next person, right? Like each one of us is individual with our hormones, each one of us is individual with our lifestyle, our history, our genetics, all of
Mhm.
these things. And to take this like one size fits all approach, and also this is how you're supposed to look, and this is how you're supposed to eat, and this is how you're supposed to work out, that kind of stuff. And then, oh, by the way, you can do this all in like 21 days.
Right.
Like,
Right. Yeah.
you can look like this in 21 days. And I'm like, it is a lifetime practice
Yeah.
and journey.
Yeah.
It is not a like we're gonna do this one thing and in 5 days you're gonna have all of these things. It's
Right.
once it's habit changes.
Right.
It's little bites at a time. It's that old, story about how do we eat a whale one bite at a time. If you want to make true changes in your life, it's going to take some time. And it's also going to take some time finding out who you are, who your body is, how your body works, getting to know yourself. And so I think when I see stuff and oh, there's some big ones rolling around right now. But there's some celebrities that are like, well, this is what I do. And then everyone's like, I'm going to do what she does. And also,
Yeah.
first of all, that's not even working for her. I can look at
Yeah.
her and tell you that she's not well, and she's a little too thin,
Yeah.
but it's just like that carte blanche. This is what I do,
Mhm.
and I wake up like this and then I do this and this. And we forget that there's teams of people behind some of these celebrities.
Yeah.
There's filters. There's some really great yoga pants out there that can suck everything in.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I know. It's like the pictures that you'll see of like a model or like in a magazine or a
Mm.
yoga teacher or whatever. And it's like they're bent over and there's like no rolls whatsoever on their it's like you fold your like there's things crease. It doesn't matter. If you had 0% body fat, like your skin is still gonna fold.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
okay, you know? But
yeah,
then, like, young girls especially will see that and just think, "Oh my gosh, like, I have to look like that."
Yeah, or I'm doing it wrong. I'm doing
Yeah.
something wrong. You know,
Yeah.
somehow I think we all default to like somehow we're doing something wrong. You
Yeah.
know, I don't look like this or I don't whatever. I think it's really damaging to when we see people, you know, post like this is what I ate today. And I'm like, that's not enough calories. That's enough
No.
calories for a toddler,
Yeah.
right? And we forget that our systems, like our body needs X amount of calories just and protein just to survive.
Yeah.
You know, and then people are like, what's your problem? You know, this is what I eat, you know, and you're like, that's not enough food for anybody.
I
Like,
know. I know.
child, you know,
Yeah.
and that's causing a lot of health issues is this complete lack of eating that
Mhm.
we're all kind of suffering from and stuff. So yeah, it's that inauthenticity. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
That really just kind of like, you know, and that anything and everything can be solved in like some 28-day plan or a pill. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and I'm seeing that in like so many industries as well. Like,
Mhm.
a friend of mine is a publisher, and she's like, you can't write a book in 21 days.
Yeah.
Even if you already have content, like you have to, it's going to take longer than that. And so there is this whole like just get it done fast vibe that like we're just surrounded by right now, and it just doesn't work.
Well, no, I mean, how many times are you on your phone or your computer and it won't load like that? And you're like, what is wrong with you?
Why is it taking so long?
Right? We've
Yes.
sadly gotten to that like fast lifestyle that everything needs. I mean, I can't even, I mean, I had something delivered to me the other day and I was like, 7 days. I was like, what? You know,
I
I'm like,
know. I
what is
know.
this, the 90s? Like, you know, I'm like,
Amazon
what do
has
you mean
ruined
it's
us.
gonna
I
take
know. I know. I
7 days? Right? Like, we're not even used to getting packages
know.
in like a week or 2 weeks anymore. And so I think like you said, like people like publishing, but I know what you're saying. I see it everywhere. You
Mhm.
can fix your business in this many days. You can write a book in this many days. You can, you know, restart your life and all these things in this many days. And I'm like, there's
Right.
no like, you know, yeah, it's a big myth. And then you feel like a failure when you don't, like you said, write a book in 21 days or 20
Right.
days, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, what's wrong with me? It's like nothing's wrong with you. It's called reality. So,
Right. And
yeah.
life and things just happen, right?
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
getting a little choked up over here. Sorry. Um, I'm like, I'm working through this cold kind of situation.
Oh,
So
yeah, do you
I'm
hear
like,
this? Yeah, it's
it's
like, ooh,
everywhere. It's ridiculous. Thank you,
yeah,
Jesus. Well, so let's talk a little bit about Breathe, Flow, Grow,
okay.
your website and your programs, and kind of where people can get in touch with you and all the things that you offer.
Oh my gosh. So, all the things that I offer. So getting in touch with me like through my website, Instagram is another one. I'm breathe.flow.grow on Instagram as well. Um, Let me see all the things that I offer. I'm really kind of excited because I've kind of been adding on lately.
Yeah.
Especially in finding that community of women and impacting women. And you know, and before we started, you know, we were talking about my earrings that come from
Yeah.
Guatemala. They're handmade by a group of women that are looking to pour back into their community and support their community and fair wages and stuff like that. And so that's kind of like a new aspect that I've added to my business. It's always first and always yoga and mindfulness,
Mhm.
families, you know, adults, families and kid, you know, mom and kid, dad and kid, you know, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. It's a whole family type thing. So yoga and mindfulness is always like top. Someone was asking me that the other day, like, where are you focusing the most? And I was like, oh, I don't know. It's like I have my babies, and then I have where I'm growing and moving into as well. Aerial yoga is under that as well.
Nice.
That is something that I always encourage people to try. Just give it a try.
Yeah.
I am one for pulling people out of their comfort zones.
Love it.
I am about giving yourself grace where you're at every single day. I think every one of my classes, I tell people we're here all week. Take your time with it. But
Yeah.
I'm also one for pushing people a little bit out of their comfort zone and just see what happens. And if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. But there's some incredible benefits of that. People get intimidated when they see people hanging from the ceiling. And I know I'm just as bad. It's
Right.
another authenticity thing about like, look what I can do. And then I'm like, actually, most of our classes spent on the floor. Like,
Nice.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
you know, and it's fun and it adds the flash and stuff like that. But I like to post videos of like, it's an incredible stretch. Most people that come to my aerial classes are looking for that stretch and that
Mhm.
spinal compression.
Mhm.
And then I have my health coaching. So that was something that spun off of my own health journey. Something, we were talking a little bit about intuition and
Yeah.
listening to your body. And I find that, and that's kind of what you find your niche, right?
Yeah.
And then
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
that you kind of find these women and people that just kind of like pull towards you.
Mhm.
And for me, it was that intuition piece. I was going through health and wellness journey. I was exhausted. I was teaching, I was teaching a bunch of classes. I thought I ate pretty well. And
Mhm.
I couldn't get up in the morning. I'm like, something is wrong. And I went to doctors and they were like, you're fine, you're fine. And I'm like, I'm not fine, So I finally found a doctor that listened to me,
Yeah.
because I kept saying, I was like, I know I look good on paper and the labs look great, but I don't feel well.
Yeah.
And so I went through this big health journey, something I wish I would have had during that, someone to kind of hold my hand and say, yeah, you're right. Like, if you
Yeah.
don't feel well, you don't feel well, or we're going to have bad days and stuff. Was a health coach. And so I became the thing that I wish that I had had.
I love
And so I coach mostly women now. I do have some teenage girls, which I think are like my favorite clients right now. They're so much fun. They bring the TikTok into it. They're like,
nice.
"What this recipe I saw on TikTok?" And you talk about authenticity. I'm like, oh, we're gonna have to have a lesson on that too.
Oh, yeah.
But just listening to yourself, and having a health coach is somebody like, I'm like the your Waze or your Google Maps, right? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like this and I want to feel like this. How can I get there?
I
But
love
we're listening to ourselves. We're doing what works within our lifestyle. We're not doing what works for some 20-year-old's lifestyle on Instagram.
that.
We are eating foods that feel good to ourselves, that kind of stuff. And so I provide like that guidance for people. So it's really just kind of a spin off my yoga and taking people through a physical practice. Now I'm taking you through a wellness practice, looking at like not only your physical, but your emotional, your environmental
Mhm.
health, your spiritual health. All of these things play into our wellness.
Oh, yeah.
And so I've added that. That's kind of where I've been growing. And then, like I said, this community aspect where I'm starting to bring in businesses, importing stuff from Guatemala and
Yeah.
other countries, and growing. I'm also doing a lot more retreats and like mini retreats and that kind of stuff, and starting to try to grow communities of women and also connect communities of women as well, that, we're all the same.
Yeah.
I literally traveled to Guatemala a couple months ago and sat down with these women in my very horrible Spanish and their broken English and a translator.
Yeah.
And they're all stress, anxiety.
Yep.
I want to feel well. I want my kids to do well. I'm worried for my children,
Yeah.
that stuff. And I'm like, it does not matter if you're living in McKinney, Texas, or on a mountain in Guatemala.
Yeah.
Women all have the same health issues and wanting to,
Mhm.
the same goals and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yes.
one of the things I love about health coaches, and
Mhm.
I do know a couple of physicians who are really taking control of their practices in this way
Mhm. Mhm.
to factor in like your intuition and how you really feel. Like there's times when I know for myself, like I'll intuitively like just really want some tomatoes. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna eat some tomatoes. Or intuitively, I'm like, I need to go take a bath. I'm like, okay, I'll go do that. And I feel
Yeah.
better afterward. And I couldn't tell you why. And I'm sure there's a scientific reason behind it. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter. I was able to follow my intuition and bring a little more wellness to myself. So it's so great that I think that we're having a little bit of a renaissance where there's a little more permission out there to do
Yes. Mhm.
and, there's amazing folks like you who are saying, wow, that's a TikTok fad, or, you know, maybe we try something different over here.
Yeah.
That are kind of breaking through that. I just love that so much. And I love the community aspect of everything
Yeah.
you're doing.
Yeah. I'm excited about that. And to your point about the intuition thing, I was at a talk recently and I was speaking to the speaker afterwards, and she was like, honestly, she's like, as much as we give the younger generations like a little hard time, she goes, mad props to all of them that they are
Yeah.
walking into a job and like, this isn't a right fit for me.
Yep.
And that's something that, like, I'm in my 40s. I never would have been like, I don't feel like this is a good fit for me and this is a good work situation for
Yeah.
me, I would have like fought it out tooth and nail. I'm going to make
Oh,
it
yeah.
work,
Oh, yeah.
because this is a good job opportunity and this is what you do and all this other stuff. And
Right.
she's like, I mean, we give them a hard time, but she's like, I've had 20-something-year-old lawyers come up to me and be like, I don't feel like this is a good fit. I'm going to have to move on.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're all standing there like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, exactly. I
We
know.
do that. And my sister, who's 10 years younger than me, she's got employees 10 years younger than her, same thing. And she's like, they are very much about employee wellness, about
Yep.
how this is a good fit for them, all this other kind of stuff. And they're listening to themselves. They're not,
Yeah.
they're not trying to drive that square peg into a round hole. And mad props to them. And I think you're right. There is like this renaissance of people. And now if we can just get it to work its way up the
Right?
generations of like,
Right.
you don't have to suffer, guys. Like,
Oh,
we can listen to like you said, if you feel hungry for something, eat it. Your body probably needs something in that
yeah.
tomato. If I tell people all the time in Shavasana, where we're just laying there,
Yeah.
you'll see people kind of fidget and move, but then they're like, I'm supposed to be laying here. I'm supposed to be laying. I'm like, move to your side. If you need to move to your side, like we
Yeah.
wait for this permission. And I'm like, you don't need permission from me to
Yeah.
be comfortable,
Right.
but we do. We all feel like we need permission, and so I'm trying to let people know, like, you don't have to have permission. If it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel right.
Right? Right? Oh, I love that. Oh,
Yeah.
I love both the grace and permission that you provide folks or
Mhm.
support folks in, but also the pushing a little bit of the limits.
Yeah. I
Getting
mean,
people out of your comfort zone.
you got to get out of I mean, the couch is really nice. Our bodies
Yeah.
would have us stay on the couch all day, every day,
Oh,
because it's a very nice, safe place.
yeah.
But we also have to kind of push a little bit. If there is something that you want,
Yeah.
we don't have to go like full bore, we can baby step it. And that's what I, teach people is like baby step it, because also if you go like, from 0 to 90 in 5 seconds, like you're going to eventually pull back because you can't keep going that way. So, yeah, just baby steps, that kind of stuff, and working through, and again, finding what works for your lifestyle.
Right.
Because, and there's a meme going around, someone sent it to me the other day about like, it's Mariah Carey singing the song. And it's like, when I set my alarm for 5 a.m. because I think I'm going to go running. And it's like, I was lying to myself. I was
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, like I can tell you right now, I'm not a 5 a.m. person.
Oh, no. No.
So stop setting yourself up for failure too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's so great. That
Yeah.
is awesome. Well, thank you again for being on the show. I'm going to just pop your URL up
Yeah.
one more time for folks, and I'll have all your contact information in the caption.
Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah, reach
Yeah.
out. And I tell people all the time, even if you have questions, just reach out.
Yeah.
Just ask. Don't be afraid to ask me anything. I'm always happy to provide what I know. And if I don't know, I will always find out. So yeah, but my website, Instagram, all those places are great places to find me, my email, that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, thank you again for being on.
Oh, well, thank you. Again,
Yeah.
it was so good to see you. We need to not wait until like there's a screen. We need to get
I
together again.
know. I know. We'll do that for sure. Well, thanks
For
again,
sure.
Megan.
I know. I was gonna say maybe some coffee or something.
Yeah, I love that.
All right. Well, you're so very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.